Remain standing for the singing of the national anthem by the Methodist University Chorale, and remain standing for the invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we gather today to mark a milestone for this university in the class of 2022. We pause to give thanks for your tender mercies, your faithful presence, and your generous love that have brought us safely to this day. Today is a culmination of years of work, years filled with challenges, triumphs, losses, laughter, friendships, and growth. Thank you for the gift of family and friends, faculty and staff who have supported these children of yours and who celebrate with them now. While living in the tensions among expectations and shifting normal, grief and gratitude, these students have persevered with resilience, courage, and faith to finish well the work at hand. Today, as we are united by your grace and as one Monarch family, we honor these graduates. We are proud of them. Gather us now to be with you as you are with us in this time of celebration and gratitude. Amen. You may be seated.
Good morning. Welcome to the 50th Methodist University Winter Commencement. I'm Stan Worden, president of Methodist University. Congratulations, graduates. You have completed your Methodist University degree programs, and you have done so at one of the most difficult times in American history. I've been working in higher education for 40 years, and I've never seen challenges like those we've faced together over the past 2 years. Every person here today has experienced stress, economic disruption, job disruption, health challenges, discouragement, even depression during this very tough time. I've seen that, and I've experienced many of those things myself. But I also have seen in you, our Methodist University graduates, a deep reservoir of strength, character, and compassion, and I hope you recognize that in yourselves. I have seen you taking care of yourselves and each other, lifting each other's spirits, watching out for one another. I've seen you working hard on your education, in your clubs and organizations, and on your athletic teams. You didn't let any of the pressures and stressors of our current times beat you. You found a way to keep going and to get the most from your time at Methodist University. You have shown that you are strong, resilient, creative, and caring. Graduates, I'm proud of you because in the face of all we've experienced, you've found the courage to complete your MU degrees in dignity and style. I'm proud of you because you understood the power and importance of working together as one community. we have indeed moved forward together. It's been a lifelong privilege for me to spend these past few years with you, with this group of gifted, dedicated, courageous, brilliant, loving people who in just a little while will become Methodist University alumni. There will be sunny days ahead for you, and there will be some cloudy days too. During the sunny days, I hope you'll look back on these times and the joy, the love, and the learning that you've experienced at Methodist University. And during the cloudy days, I hope you will look back on this period in your lives and remember, you've got this. You've got this. You've shown that you have what it takes to endure, to prevail, and to succeed, because you've done so in the face of the greatest challenge in modern history. Remember this time. Remember each other and the faculty and staff of MU who care so much and have worked so hard for you. Remember your families and friends who have made many sacrifices so that you may have a better life. Remember your alma mater with pride and love, because that is how your alma mater will remember you. Remember, too, the Methodist University commitment to truth, virtue, justice, and love, because our ability to thrive in difficult times is rooted in these values. Graduates, I'm proud of you. Now I ask everyone to join me in applauding this remarkable group of Methodist University graduates. Thank you. Now, graduates, I ask you to rise and turn toward your loved ones, your faculty, and our staff who have joined you in celebration here today and express your gratitude to them for all they've done to support you and help ensure your success. Thank you. Please be seated. Let me now introduce the members of the platform party. I ask them to stand as I say their names. Dr. Rakesh Gupta, Chairman of the Board of Trustees. Dr. Suzanne Blum-Malley, Provost. Mr. Mac Healy, our commencement speaker. The Reverend Kelly Taylor, University Chaplain. Dr. Patricia Fecker, Associate Provost. Dr. Trey Hoyt, Dean of the College of Health Sciences and Human Services. Dr. Tat Chan, Dean of the College of Business, Technology, and Professional Studies. Dr. J.R. Hustwit, Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Sciences. Dr. Mika Mitchell, Alumni Association President and Assistant Professor of Physical Therapy. It's now my privilege to introduce today's commencement speaker. Mr. John Mac Healy has lived in Fayetteville since 1978 and is the president of Healy Wholesale, a beer and wine distributor. After earning a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from Wake Forest University, he returned to Fayetteville and to the family business. Mac and his brother eventually took ownership of the business and transformed it into a statewide beverage distributor with up to $30 million in annual sales. Mr. Healy's contributions to the Fayetteville community span decades, as he has served generously with arts, cultural, civic, and economic development organizations. Almost every advisory and governing board in Cumberland County has benefited from Mac's leadership and integrity. He is not motivated by the spotlight, but by a sense of moral obligation and ethical principles, by a commitment to giving something back to his community. Mac's contributions to Methodist University have been exceptional, both in terms of the level of his generosity of spirit and the effectiveness of his efforts to elevate our university. He has devoted countless hours and resources to this institution, serving with the university's Talley Center for Leadership, McCune International Art Gallery, and then joining the Board of Trustees in 2012. You won't find the Healy name on any campus buildings, yet he and his business have contributed significantly toward capital improvements and expansion of the campus since the 1980s. Mac humbly accepted the role of chair of the Board of Trustees in 2017 and served in that position for the full 5-year term. He has helped shepherd this institution safely through a presidential transition and through unprecedented challenges, resulting from the global pandemic and nationwide shifts in higher education enrollment. The fact that we are a thriving university today with forward-looking goals to help us thrive into the future is due in very large part to the vision, efforts, and leadership of Mac Healy. Please join me now in welcoming my personal friend and a great friend to our university, our Methodist University 50th annual Winter Commencement speaker, Mr. Mac Healy.
Thank you all. It's an honor to be here. With that introduction, I'm humbled. The first thing I want to do today is to thank everyone who played a role in the day, and that goes for my fellow Board of Trustees members, it goes for Dr. Worden, faculty, and staff. But I also want to thank those people that we just kind of always forget to thank. The lady out there in the cold that was directing traffic, all the people that made sure that there was a program on your chair. Those people are here and working hard, and these things couldn't come out without them, even down to Ken, who makes sure that the sound is right. So give them a round of applause if you don't mind. When I was asked to address you all, it was really quite an honor. And I know you're asking yourself, who is this guy and why is he up there? And the most important question is, how short is he going to be? So I'm going to do my best to answer those questions quickly. I wasn't born in Fayetteville. I've been on the board, as Dr. Worden said, for 10 years. I had the privilege of going to a liberal arts, or religious affiliated liberal arts university, much like you all. And I can tell you that I didn't know anything about Methodist when I moved here 42 years ago. But I've grown to appreciate not only what it means for this community, but more importantly, what it means for you and everybody who's graduated from this place. It did one thing that we talk a lot about, and that is it taught you how to think, not what to think. And that's what this is all about. It's easy for other people to give you their opinion, but for you to be able to leave here today knowing how to think is something you'll always cherish. When I thought about today, I thought about a lot of speeches. I've been through a lot of graduation speeches and heard a lot of speeches. And one thing that came out in all those speeches was overcoming obstacles. And I tried to think about a great example of somebody who overcame obstacles. And quite frankly, I couldn't come up with anybody better than you all. Fate and Mother Nature has thrown everything they possibly can at you. And you all stuck in here. You held in there. You did not quit. Today's about congratulations and gratitude for your family and those that supported your journey to get here today. Gratitude for all those people of this Methodist family that helped steer you to this day. And most importantly, gratitude to you and all you mean for Methodist now and you will in the future. Today marks a big change for you. You move from student to leaders. And boy, do we need leaders just like you all. The question is, what kind of leader do you want to be? If you come to my office, there's a sign in there that reminds me of what I'm trying to do every day. And it's got 3 sayings: blame no one, expect nothing, and do something. Blame no one is the easiest thing of all to do. Wasn't my fault, or I wasn't in charge, I didn't do it. You can do that every single day. You can wake up every day and blame people for that. When I look at this class, I realize that you haven't done that. 34 of you are first-generation college students. Now, how easy was it for you to go, well, nobody in my family went to college. I'm not going to go put up with that. I'm not going to do that. 15 of you are veterans. We will never know the sacrifices you've made for your family and for this country. But you never took an excuse and blamed anybody for your problems or opportunities. 10 of you are military dependents. My children grew up in this town, and I know how hard it is with military dependents. You moved numerous times. You attended numerous schools. Yet you stuck in here, didn't blame anybody, didn't look for excuses. You gutted it out and made everything happen. Some of you raised a family. Now, there's no harder leadership goal and role in this country than raising a family. I can't imagine, having been a college student, I can't imagine how you took care of your family and did this, but I'm just in awe of all that you've done. Over the last few years, I'm sure you've come to realize that life isn't fair. Some people are richer, some people are smarter, some people are better looking, some people are faster, some people catch all the breaks. Remember that. Keep that with you because life isn't fair. As you start your day, you'll always be amazed, though. And what I'm going to ask you to do is every morning when you get up, start your day and try and embrace what I want to talk about, which is an attitude of gratitude. Focus on how blessed you are. And I use the word blessed because there's two kinds of people. There's blessed and there's lucky. Lucky people win lotteries. They catch all the breaks and everything else. Blessed people are the ones that appreciate what they have and move forward from there. As a society, we fall into the habit of blaming someone for whatever happens. Some people focus on the injustices and the negatives. Some people go back generations and say, well, I can't do this because generations ago this happened. You didn't do that. You stuck in there. You looked for no excuses. You didn't blame anyone. Second part of that phrase was expect nothing. Nobody should understand this better than you do. When you came to Methodist, you expected to walk around this beautiful campus in the fall and the spring days. You expected to attend football games and basketball games. You never expected to take online classes. And I will say your professors were never taught to teach online classes. You heard experts say college isn't worth it. It's just not worth your time and your energy and your expenses. You wanted to go out and attend local basketball games and art exhibits and things like that. But fate didn't have that for you. When you went to class, you didn't expect somebody else to take your test for you. You didn't expect somebody to help you through that. You expected you had to do that on your own, and you all saddled up and did that all on your own. You never quit. You're in a military town here, and they have a great saying, adapt and overcome. That's exactly what each of you did. You adapted to what no one ever in their life imagined would happen. I mean, you had hurricanes, you had pandemics, but every one of you stuck through it, and you're here today just for that reason. You need to be proud about that. Too many people expect somebody else to handle their problems. That's what their expectation is. Now, I'm not saying don't have expectations. What I'm saying is when expectations change, you roll with it. I'll tell you, when I was growing up, some coach or teacher or somebody had done a great injustice to me. I don't even remember what it was. It wasn't really that big of a deal. But I went home and I told my father, I said, whatever it was, I said, it was just not right. And he looked at me and he said, son, today it's a teacher. Tomorrow it's the principal. The next day it's a cop. The next day it's your boss. You better learn how to get along with people. My expectation was that I was going to find a friend in my father, and what I got was a lesson that I've never forgotten. That's what life's all about. You all took all the problems that fate wanted to throw at you and never gave up. The second part about expectations is this. When it goes sour, when you are absolutely the butt of the joke, have fun with it. Life is just too short. When I was in college, I was an athletic trainer. My senior year, we played Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Now, anybody who's ever watched a Duke game know that's a vicious crowd. Well, my best friend was a all-conference point guard, and he was injured that year. So I knew that the Duke students were going to be riding Frank just all game long, just horribly. So during the first time out, what happens is the coach and the players sit there in a little circle, and we all stand behind there, kind of facing the audience. Now, I thought I was doing pretty good. At that point, back in the late 70s, I had a brand new plaid coat. It was nice, in my opinion anyway. So we get up there at the first time out, and all of a sudden I realize that there's a whole bunch of students pointing, and Frank is standing next to me. And I thought they were yelling at Frank, but instead, 100 of the Duke students were going, coat, 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 at my coat. Now, at that point, I could go back and sit on the bench and turn tail and say, I'm taking his coat off at halftime and never come back out. Of course, my best friend, Frank, starts going. So I embraced it and took every time out I would go. And the coat cheers lasted a whole game. And yeah, I got in trouble with the coach at the end of the game, but it didn't matter. We had a good time. We embraced what wasn't expected, which was I was the butt of the joke for Cameron Indoor that day. Blame no one, expect nothing. If you follow these two guidelines, there's only one other thing you can do, and that's to do something. Now, sometimes doing something is the hardest of all three of these because you can just let somebody else handle it. You can just back off. Y'all could have just, during the pandemic, said, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to quit. You never did. But the trick is not just to do something, but to do something positive. A friend told me a story the other day. They said he and some friends were on a trip. And while on the trip, one of the attendees asked a staff member what they were going to do after school. Later, that staff member came up to him and said, thank you very much for asking about me. No one ever does that. Think about that for a minute. No one ever asks about me. It's the little things that you'll be able to do to make your life and other people's lives better. Today, people are lonely, sad, and unhappy. Boy, we need leaders like you out there to help us. I believe it's our responsibility to do something about that. Societal divisions today run deep. This unhealthy reality presents an opportunity for leaders like you to engage in ways we haven't seen in many years. Our nation, born of a revolution that pitted countrymen against one another, established a common purpose for all: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yeah, we've had our problems as a nation. We've made our mistakes. But the pursuit of happiness, I want you to remember that. Trust is eroding in most areas of life. Culture is adversarial and compartmentalized. Fear of ridicule and retaliation has pushed most leaders to the sidelines. Boy, do we need people like you out there. Gallup reports anger, stress, worry, and sadness reached record highs in 2021. The percent of people who reported experiencing stress and worry a lot during the day showed unprecedented increases in the first half of this year. These spikes were 4 times higher than what was measured throughout 2008 due to the Great Recession. North Carolina youth suicides have increased by more than 50% from 2019 to 2020. That's hard to believe. CDC reports that 44% of high school students reported they persistently felt sad or hopeless during the past year. Boy, do we need leaders like you. Together, we have to change this. You have the talents. You've been taught how to think. You've been taught how to react. So in a few minutes, you'll walk out of this building. And one of the greatest parts about Methodist graduation that you'll experience is as you go down the hall. Your faculty and staff will be lined up to applaud you. And every year I've done this, I've watched students step out of line and hug a professor or thank a professor. That's the attitude of gratitude that you want to carry with you past today. We have all the choices every day what kind of leader we want to be. We can blame others, expect things to be given to us or done for us, or we can become a positive force that chooses an attitude of gratitude and makes a positive difference in everyone we encounter. I want you to do that. We need your help. Methodists need your help. Hold Methodist family close. As you leave here today, the people that you've experienced these years with are something special. No one in your life will ever experience the things you've all experienced together. You'll go back home, but always hold these people close because they've got an experience, they've got a background with you that you'll never want to lose. So my ask today is very simple. Choose an attitude of gratitude for your leadership style and continue to make Methodists proud. Thank you.
Mac, thank you so much for those inspiring words and for your graciousness in honoring us with your presence here today. It's our pleasure at Methodist University to present honorary degrees to individuals who have rendered distinguished service to Methodist University, to the church, to the state, or to our nation. I'd like to ask Mac Healy to come forward, as well as Dr. Suzanne Blum-Malley, Provost, and Dr. Rakesh Gupta, Chair of the Board of Trustees, to assist with the hooding. Mac's wisdom, patience, leadership, and straightforward approach have benefited the Methodist University Board of Trustees and the entire Methodist University community. For his keen vision in business and his extraordinary devotion to education, community, and family, Methodist University bestows on Mr. John Mac Healy the honorary Doctor of Humanities degree given in Fayetteville, North Carolina, this 10th day of December in the year 2022 at the 50th Annual Winter Commencement Ceremony of Methodist University. We have a tradition since 1985 of honoring international students and their countries to better keep their memories with us by receiving flags from the nations of origin of our international students. These flags are flown continually in the Burns Student Center. The flags symbolize the extension of Methodist University to other nations and of those nations to our campus. We receive a new flag each time an international student from a country new to Methodist University graduates. Your program indicates flags previously given, the date, and the country. Behind me, you will see a few of the flags in honor of this tradition. Today, we receive one flag, bringing the total on display to 128. Charlisa Lawrence Joseph presents the flag of Dominica. The Distinguished Graduate Award goes to one of the top 5 academic graduates identified by the registrar. Those names are presented to the senior class, and the class elects one of the graduates to speak and to represent them at commencement. This year, I'm pleased to announce Jillian Drinkard is our 2022 Distinguished Graduate. I'd like to invite Jillian to the stage.
Thank you, President Worden, and thank you to all of the faculty and staff that made today possible. I wanted to start off by congratulating the class of 22, as we finally made it. It's such an honor to be the recipient of this award. Over the past week, I've had time to reflect on my years here at Methodist University, and one word kept resonating in my head: grateful. That is what I'm feeling as I stand before you today. Grateful for the journey that has led me to this very moment. Grateful to God, to my family, who've helped make my dreams a reality. Grateful to my coaches and my friends who've been there with me every step of the way. When I visited campus for the first time, I met two girls who were part of the women's golf team. They were so welcoming and instantly made me feel a part of the MU family. Little did I know they would become 2 of my biggest role models and closest friends. I realized immediately after meeting everyone down back, this is where I wanted to spend the next 4 years of my life, surrounded by people who cared about my success and made me a better person in the process. I wasn't going to find that anywhere else. Over the years, I've met so many amazing people, made so many memories, and achieved things I never thought were possible. Being a part of the women's golf team and being in a leadership position has been such a rewarding experience for me. To know I have influenced the lives of the girls around me means just as much to me as winning a national championship. The relationships I've made on this team will always hold a special place in my heart. The faculty and staff have always had my best interests at heart and helped steer me in the right direction. From the beginning, Coach T.I. has reassured me that I was capable of a lot more than I thought. He's always been there to keep pushing me towards my goals, whether that was in the classroom or on the golf course, and for that, I will always be grateful. Golf has taught me so many lessons about life. It has taught me that not all days are good ones, and it's our attitude that determines the outcome. Golf has taught me to forget about the last shot and focus on the next one. In life, just like in golf, you have to take the bad lies and turn them into opportunities, because that's what makes you succeed. Golf is a humbling game, and it didn't take me long to realize that the real measurements in life have nothing to do with numbers or statistics, but more about how you treat others and the legacy you leave behind. So my advice to everyone moving forward is to have faith in everything that you do. In this ever-changing world, remember to stay true to yourself. Be kind and listen to your heart. In Jeremiah 29:11, God says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you, and plans to give you hope and a future." We were put on this earth to make a difference in the lives of the people around us. If there's anything that I've learned over the past few years, it's to never take anything for granted, because we are not promised tomorrow. Every day you wake up is another reason to be grateful. Grateful for the opportunity to keep chasing your dreams. As we get ready to walk across the stage and start the next chapter of our lives, I will leave you with these words of wisdom from Academy Award winner Viola Davis. And I quote, "All dreams are within reach. All you have to do is keep moving towards them." Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, the awarding of degrees. Before we acknowledge the graduates by conferring the degrees and reading their names, we ask that the audience be respectful during this formal ceremony and refrain from applause and noises that would limit the ability of audiences to hear the names of other graduates. Let's applaud the graduates again as a group now, and then one final time after all the degrees have been conferred. For the awarding of academic degrees, Provost Dr. Suzanne Blum-Malley, Dr. Trey Hoyt, Dr. Tat Chan, and Dr. J.R. Hustwit will assist me. Dr. Rakesh Gupta, Chair of our Board of Trustees, will greet each graduate, and Dr. Mika Mitchell, President of the Methodist University Alumni Association and Assistant Professor of Physical Therapy, will congratulate our graduates as they leave the stage. Dr. Blum-Malley.
Graduation is a special occasion, not only in the lives of our graduates, but in many cases, in most cases, the lives of parents, spouses, children, relatives, and friends. Thank you for all that you have done to make this day possible. It's also a time of celebration for the Methodist University professors and staff who have taught and supported our students throughout their Methodist University journeys. We are collectively thrilled to see you earn your degrees today and look forward to following your future successes. For commencement today, graduates have invited persons important to them to serve as sponsors who will join them on stage to set their commencement hoods in place. We will first present the candidates for degree conferral by calling the candidates and sponsors to the stage by degree, level, and college. Again, we ask that you hold your applause until the last graduate has left the stage. Today, Methodist University is graduating 129 students who have successfully completed all requirements for their respective degrees. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the 15 graduates in this cohort who are the first ever graduates of our fully online Methodist University degree programs. Congratulations to all of our December 2022 graduates. Will the candidate for the degree of Master of Health Administration please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Master of Health Administration?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Master of Health Administration with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Medical Science please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Master of Medical Science?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Master of Medical Sciences with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Applied Science please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Applied Science?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Bachelor of Applied Science with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science?
By the power, the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Bachelor of Science with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the candidate for the degree of Associate of Arts please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Associate of Arts?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Associate of Arts with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. All right. Dr. Dean Hoyt, Dean of the College of Health Sciences and Human Services, will call forward the candidates for the Master of Health Administration and Master of Medical Science degrees. Dean Hoyt.
Candidates for the degree of Master of Health Administration. Abigail Avalos, sponsored by Everly Avalos, her daughter. Caitlin Hester, sponsored by Paul Grimard, her spouse. Brianna Kelly, sponsored by Jessica Kelly, her mother. Candidates for the degree of Master of Medical Science. Taylor Bishop, sponsored by Shauna Smith, her mother. Bianca Boyd, sponsored by Ryan Hodges, her fiance. Tabitha Cameron, sponsored by Dr. Christina Perry, Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. Lisa Deitch, sponsored by Adrian Deitch, her son. Moses Dimas, sponsored by Janet Vega, his spouse. Brittany Ellis, sponsored by Andreas Valentin, her boyfriend. Thomas Ferguson, sponsored by Lee Downey, his mother. Elena Geis, sponsored by David Geis, her father. Grace Grant, sponsored by Gregory Grant, her spouse. Jasmine Haltom, sponsored by Hager Haltom, her mother. Kelsey Harmon, sponsored by Trevor Harmon, her spouse. Bailey Helms, sponsored by Joe Moore, her fiance. Lynn Huynh, sponsored by Fan Liu, her mother. Catherine Iskander, sponsored by Dr. Greer Fisher, Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. Anna Couch, sponsored by Joshua Couch, her spouse. Gloria Kubwanu, sponsored by Dr. Greer Fisher, Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. Grace Lung, sponsored by Dr. Greer Fisher, Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. Valentine Matango, sponsored by James Matango, her father. Matthew Meyer, sponsored by Jay Meyer, his father. Alexandra Munden, sponsored by Scott Sapp, her boyfriend. Christina Nguyen, sponsored by Dr. Greer Fisher, Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. Cole Oliver, sponsored by Walt Oliver, his father. Adriana Oxendine, sponsored by Lisa Oxendine, her mother. Jarrett Oxendine, sponsored by Sierra Oxendine, his spouse. Tanner Parrish, sponsored by Katie Lynch, his fiancée. Christopher Price Cunningham, sponsored by Jared Cunningham, his spouse. Justin Scott, sponsored by Alexandria Dial, his aunt. Hunter Shore, sponsored by Rachel Shore, his spouse. Alyssa Smith, sponsored by Gail Smith, her mother. Brooke Smith, sponsored by Chris Smith, her spouse. Keith Sorkin, sponsored by Brandon Sorkin, his brother. Cameron Spinogle, sponsored by James Spinogle, his father. Ariana Simandris, sponsored by Dr. Greer Fisher, Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. Sarah Walsh, sponsored by Ian Walsh, her spouse. Yadidra Saniga, sponsored by Rosie Cortez, her mother.
Dr. J.R. Hustwit, Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Science, will call candidates for the Bachelor of Applied Science and Bachelor of Science degrees. Dean Hustwit.
Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Applied Science. David Hudson, sponsored by Kamisha Hudson, his spouse. David Warren, sponsored by Joni Warren, his spouse. Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science. Mohammed Abdul Zara, sponsored by Huda Kadim, his aunt. Erica Bartlett, sponsored by Donna Green, her mother. Sherry Barton, sponsored by Dr. Catherine Snyder, Professor of Psychology. Jonathan Breswitz, sponsored by Kim Breswitz, his mother. Selena Berger, sponsored by Lisa Berger, her mother. Aaron Franklin, sponsored by Valerie Prelo, his mother. Shamira Fuller Cross, sponsored by James Cross, her father. Randy Garcia, sponsored by Rene Garcia, his father. Helen Goodrich, sponsored by Lugene Hamilton, her friend. Nicholas Johnson, sponsored by Deanna Johnson, his mother. Taylor Jones, sponsored by Trevor Jones, her brother. Felicia Likes, sponsored by Gregory Scott, her fiance. Alicia Miller, sponsored by Alexander Hewland, her spouse. Satchel Monroe, sponsored by Anthony Monroe, her father. Trinity Mosher, sponsored by Bobby Mosher, her mother. Holly Nelson Krieger, sponsored by Daniel Krieger, her spouse. Shakaylin Patterson, sponsored by Dr. Tiffany Neal, her mother. Ariana Piltz, sponsored by Christina Piltz, her mother. Glenda Robles, sponsored by Dr. Mark Klein, professor of psychology. Ariel Tejada, sponsored by Damian Tejada, her brother. Xiao Mei Tak, sponsored by Charlene Lee, her mother. Yashvi Vikaria, sponsored by Naresh Vikaria, her father. Sarah Vornhader, sponsored by Jennifer Terry, her mother. Pruitt Wells, sponsored by Tracy Wells, her mother. Fitzroy Williams, sponsored by Tasha Kitchen Williams, his spouse.
Dr. Tat Chan, Dean of the College of Business, Technology, and Professional Studies, will call candidates for the Bachelor of Science degrees. Dr. Chan.
Daniel Barnes, sponsored by Michelle Barnes, his mother. Caroline Bryant, sponsored by Paul Bryant, her father. Tyler Bird, sponsored by Shane Bird, his father. Ross Carlisle, sponsored by Laurie Carlisle, his mother. Carter Cheek, sponsored by Christopher Cheek, his father. Andre Chi, sponsored by Dagan Chi, his father. Jacadrian Cohen, sponsored by Thomas Cohen, his father. Jade Coleman, sponsored by Lauren Coleman, his sister. Jordan Danauer, sponsored by Ikom Absalov, his friend. Jillian Drinkard, sponsored by Professor Tom Insauskis, Associate Professor of Sports Management. Taekwon Edie, sponsored by Adele. Sponsored by Adele Edie, his father. Zachary Epperson, sponsored by Dee Jarman, Deputy Athletic Director. Anna Farr, sponsored by Angel Farr, her spouse. Robert Fletcher, sponsored by Olivia Fletcher, his sister. Kyle Flores, sponsored by John Flores, his father. Don Gihuli, sponsored by Paul Gihuli, his father. Austin Hargrove, sponsored by Alison Hargrove, his mother. Douglas Huber, sponsored by Jeanette Huber, his mother. Helen Jumalan, sponsored by Christine Jumalan, her mother. Mariah Kurango, sponsored by Ms. Rebecca King, Director, Writing Center. Emily Lombardi, sponsored by Stacy Lombardi, her mother. Jake Marceau, sponsored by Olivia Marceau, his spouse. Samuel Marceau, sponsored by Dandy Marceau, his mother. Michael Mason, sponsored by Andy Heiberger, her mentor. Alexander McGonigal, sponsored by James Heshey, his grandfather. Michelle McGuire, sponsored by Christopher McGuire, her spouse. Macy Mears, sponsored by Thomas Mears, her father. Tyler Morse, sponsored by Brittany Smalls, his sister. Nicholas Owens, sponsored by Forrest Owens, his father. Franklin Pennington, sponsored by Wilfredo Pagan, his father. Andrew Pasinski, sponsored by Melissa Pasinski, his mother. Madison Pompey, sponsored by Pamela Pompey, her mother. Dorian Prelo, sponsored by Leonard Prelo, his mother. Zachary Chapman, sponsored by Jennifer Chapman, his mother. Amanda Sharp, sponsored by Emma Sharp, her daughter. Charles Tichy, sponsored by Melissa Tichy, his mother. Whitney Tyndall, sponsored by Mr. Jerry Hawk, Director Emeritus, PGA Golf Management Program. Houston Van Norden, sponsored by Todd Van Norden, her father. Nicholas Warbank, sponsored by Susan Warbank, his mother. Alexandra Williams, sponsored by Brandon Williams, her brother.
Dr. Trey Hoyt, Dean of the College of Health Sciences and Human Services, will call forward candidates for the Bachelor of Science and Associate of Arts degrees.
Christopher Andes, sponsored by Dr. Kirsten Christ, Associate Professor of Kinesiology. Jacarius Coleman, sponsored by Carla Harris, his mother. Christopher George, sponsored by Angela George, his mother. Connor Graham, sponsored by Colleen Graham, his mother. Charlisa Lawrence Joseph, sponsored by Hadley Joseph, her spouse. Trinity Ross, sponsored by Messiah Bridges, her brother. Zachary Woolard, sponsored by Paula Woolard, his mother. Candidates for the degree of Associate of Arts. Mark Brown, sponsored by Pamela Brown, his mother. Jakaris Griffin, sponsored by Latasha Griffin, his mother. Annette Sikaros, sponsored by Jasmine Abundez, her sister.
There is one final, very important task we must complete. Will the graduates please rise? Now grasp your tassel with your hand and move it from the right side to the left side of your mortarboard. Congratulations, graduates. You can sit back down. Family members and friends, this is a significant achievement, and it will change your lives in many ways, both tangibly and intangibly. A recent national study revealed that Methodist University is among the top 16% of U.S. colleges and universities in terms of social mobility of its graduates. We hope you've had a wonderful experience at Methodist University. You're now joining an elite group, the alumni of this great university. Your MU journey extends beyond today, beyond commencement. We hope your journey will bring you back to us as successful and engaged alumni, successful in your chosen careers and engaged in your communities and with your families. This is your university today, and it will always be your university. Stay in touch. Share your accomplishments with us. Stay involved. This is a great institution, and as we all work to make it even better, we will need your help. At this time, I invite you to rise and join in the singing of the alma mater, led by the Methodist University Chorale under the direction of Dr. Michael Martin. The words can be found in your program. Following the alma mater, please remain standing for the benediction.
Lord, pour your blessing on these, your children. Bless and keep them, gift, protect, and guide them. Turn your face toward them and grant them your peace, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.